Once upon a time, in a big and beautiful community called Ifeoma, in the eastern part of Nigeria, there lived a young king named King Ifeanyi. Ifeoma was a land filled with green fields, tall trees, and sparkling rivers. The people of Ifeoma were happy and hard-working, and they loved their new king, King Ifeanyi. He was the only son of the previous king, King Ifeanyi I, who was a very wise and brave man. When King Ifeanyi I passed away, the people of Ifeoma were sad, but they knew his son, King Ifeanyi, would be a great king just like his father. They trusted him to lead them well. On the day King Ifeanyi was crowned as the new king, the entire kingdom came together to celebrate. There was dancing, singing, and plenty of food. The people wore their best clothes and everyone had big smiles on their faces. The air was filled with joy and excitement. King Ifeanyi was married to a beautiful woman named Lola Adazi, who was kind, gentle, and always had a warm smile. The people of Ifeoma loved her too, and they called her El, which meant Queen El. King Ifeanyi and Queen El loved each other very much. They were often seen together, walking hand in hand in the palace gardens or sitting side by side in meetings. One morning, as the sun was rising, King Ifeanyi and Queen El were having breakfast in their grand dining room. The room was decorated with beautiful carvings and paintings that told stories about their ancestors. "My dear El," King Ifeanyi said with a smile, "today I want to visit the marketplace and talk to our people." Queen El looked at him with love in her eyes. "That is a wonderful idea, my king. The people will be so happy to see you." So after their breakfast, they got ready to visit the marketplace. The marketplace in Ifeoma was a busy, kobiagilirful place. People sold fruits, vegetables, clothes, and many other things. Children were running around and playing, and the air was filled with laughter and happy chatter. When King Ifeanyi and Queen El arrived, the people gathered around them, bowing and greeting their king and queen with respect. "Good morning, my people," King Ifeanyi said in a loud but gentle voice. "How are you all today?" "We are well, my king," the people replied happily. King Ifeanyi walked through the marketplace, talking to sellers and buyers. He asked them how their businesses were going and if they needed any help. Queen El talked to the women and children, listening to their stories and laughing with them. One of the elders, an old man with a long white beard, approached King Ifeanyi. "Your father would be very proud of you," he said. "You are a wise and kind king, just like him." "Thank you," King Ifeanyi replied. "I learned from the best." As the day went on, King Ifeanyi and Queen El continued talking to their people, listening to their concerns, and promising to help them. The people of Ifeoma felt very lucky to have such caring rulers. When it was time to leave, the people waved goodbye to their king and queen. "Come back soon, my king," a little boy shouted, waving his hand excitedly. King Ifeanyi smiled and waved back. "I will, my boy. I promise." When they returned to the palace, King Ifeanyi and Queen El sat together in the garden, watching the sunset. The sky turned orange and pink, and the birds sang their evening songs. King Ifeanyi held Queen El's hand and smiled, knowing that as long as they ruled with wisdom and love, Ifeoma would continue to be a happy and prosperous kingdom. As time went on, Queen El became pregnant, and King Ifeanyi beamed with pride as he took great care of her. The news of the queen's pregnancy spread joy throughout Ifeoma. The people celebrated, singing songs of happiness, knowing that their beloved king and queen were about to welcome a new life into the world. King Ifeanyi and Queen El decided that she would have their baby in the United Kingdom, where she could receive the best medical care. As her due date approached, they started preparing for her to travel. The palace was filled with activity as they packed her bags and made sure everything was ready. But there was a secret that only King Ifeanyi knew. He had been treating a young maid in the palace named Odo unfairly. Odo was a sweet and kind girl who always worked hard. However, King Ifeanyi had been making her do things she didn't want to do and had threatened her to keep quiet. Odo was very scared and kept this to herself because she only had her mother, who was a poor widow, and she couldn't bear the thought of anything bad happening to her mother. One evening, as Queen El's preparations for her trip continued, King Ifeanyi sat with her in their garden. "My dear, are you excited about the journey?" he asked, holding her hand. "Yes, my king," Queen El replied with a smile. "I am a little nervous, but I know everything will be fine." "Of course it will," King Ifeanyi said, kissing her hand. "You and our baby will be safe and well cared for." After a few months, Queen El traveled overseas, and King Ifeanyi visited her often. During one of these visits, Queen El gave birth to a bouncing baby boy named Okina. The news brought immense joy to Ifeoma. The people danced, celebrated, and sent their blessings to the royal family. Back in Ifeoma, however, Odo discovered she was pregnant with King Ifeanyi's child. She was scared and didn't know what to do. She had no one to turn to for help or advice. Every day, she worked in the palace with a heavy heart, full of worry and fear. Finally, when the king returned from one of his visits, Odo gathered all her courage and decided to tell him about the pregnancy. She found him in his study, looking over some important documents. "Your Majesty," she said quietly. King Ifeanyi looked up and frowned. "What is it, Odo?" "My king," she began, her voice trembling. "I'm going to have a baby." "The baby is yours. I am pregnant." The king's face darkened. "What nonsense are you talking about?" he snapped. "It's true, my king," Odo said, with tears streaming down her face. "I cannot hide it anymore." King Ifeanyi stood up and walked toward her, his expression cold. "You must find a way to take care of it," he said harshly. "I cannot have this affecting my life. I love my wife too much." Odo felt her heart break. "But my king, what will I do? I cannot handle this alone." "That is none of my business," King Ifeanyi replied, his voice icy. "You will do as I say." Odo was left standing there, feeling utterly broken and alone. She didn't know what to do or where to go. The palace, which once felt like a home, now seemed like a prison, and her future looked bleak. Days later, Odo received devastating news. Her mother had been in a car accident while returning from the market. Odo's heart sank, and she immediately rushed to the hospital. When she arrived, she was met with the worst news of her life. Her mother had passed away before she could get there. Odo's world turned upside down at that moment. Her mind became blank, and she couldn't think of anything else. She cried uncontrollably as people in the hospital and some of her family members tried to console her. "Why did this happen to me?" Odo sobbed, clutching a handkerchief. "She was all I had." "We are so sorry for your loss, Odo," a kind nurse said gently, patting her back. "Please try to be strong." After her mother's passing, Odo felt completely alone, her heart aching with sadness and fear. She spent her days in sorrow, trying to find a way out of her predicament. The weight of her secret grew heavier each day, and she prayed for a miracle to save her from her misery. In a small village, there was a sad day when everyone came together to say goodbye to Alo's mother. Alo stood by her mother's grave, feeling very alone and sad. She decided to stay at her father's house to have her baby and take care of the home. But life was hard for Alo. People in the village talked behind her back, and some even made fun of her. Even her family didn't treat her well. They whispered mean things like, "You should have been more careful." One person said, "Look at the mess she's in now." Another villager mumbled, "What will become of her and her baby?" Alo felt hurt by their words but tried to be strong. She knew she had to keep going for her unborn child. After 9 months, she gave birth to a beautiful baby girl. She named her Neka, which means that her daughter was special, even if others didn't see it. Holding Neka for the first time, Alo whispered, "You are my precious girl. I promise to take care of you and give you a good life." A few months later, Alo used the money she saved while working at the palace to start a small food business by the village road. Every day, she woke up early to cook meals to sell. She cooked with love, hoping to make enough money for her daughter. One day, a villager came to her stand and said, "Your food smells wonderful. I'll take a plate of rice and stew." Alo smiled and served the food carefully, making sure it was perfect. Despite her hard work, Alo still faced many challenges. People gossiped about her, and many men who were interested in her walked away when they found out she was a single mother. One man said, "You are a good woman, but I can't marry you. It's too complicated with a child." Each time this happened, Alo felt sad, but she refused to let it break her spirit. She told herself, "I don't need a man to be strong. All that matters is Neka." One evening, as the sun was setting, Alo sat with Neka on her lap. "My dear Neka," she said softly, "you are my everything. I will work hard to give you a better future." Neka giggled and reached for her mother's face, touching her cheeks with her tiny hands. Alo smiled, feeling hopeful and determined. She knew life wouldn't be easy, but she was ready to face any challenge for her daughter. As time went by, Alo's food business grew. People loved her cooking and admired her hard work. "Your food is the best in the village," a customer said. "You should be proud of yourself." Alo replied humbly, "I am just trying to do my best." Because of her hard work and love for Neka, she was able to provide for both of them, even with all the difficulties she faced. Alo continued to live her life with courage and determination. She taught Neka the importance of strength, resilience, and love. Together, they faced the world, knowing they had each other. Alo promised herself that she would give Neka a good life filled with hope and opportunities. Meanwhile, in the palace, King Ifeanyico was enjoying his life. He ruled his kingdom confidently, often forgetting about his past and the child he had somewhere. The king's wife, Queen Adaze, was still abroad, and they were planning to return when their son, Prince Okina, turned 25. King Ifeanyico was happy, focusing on his duties and the well-being of his people. Back in the village, Alo and Neka became well known for their delicious food. Alo managed to send Neka to university because she worked so hard. One sunny afternoon, while cooking jollof rice, a customer approached her. "Your food is the best in the village. I'll have a plate of jollof rice and chicken, please." "Thank you so much," Alo replied with a warm smile. Neka had come home from university for a visit and was helping her mother. She admired Alo's dedication and wanted to make her proud. "Mama, let me help you with that," she said, taking a plate to serve another customer. "You are such a big help, Neka," Alo said, beaming with pride. "I am so proud of you." Neka smiled, feeling happy to support her mother. She worked hard in school, always thinking of how much her mother had sacrificed for her. "Mama, I will make you proud, I promise." At the palace, people sometimes asked King Ifeanyico about Alo. One evening, during a phone call with Queen Adaizi, she asked about her. What happened to Alo after her mother passed away? King Ifeanyiko hesitated for a moment before lying. She stopped working at the palace after her mother died. She wanted to take care of her family. Oh, I see, Queen Adaizi said, sounding satisfied with the answer. By the way, our son is doing well. We are planning to come back to Nigeria by the end of the year, once he graduates and turns 25. This is wonderful news, King Ifeanyiko exclaimed, feeling excited. I can't wait to have you both back here. I will make all the necessary arrangements for your return. The thought of having his family back filled the king with joy, and he began planning everything for their arrival. Meanwhile, Alo continued to work hard at her food shop. She enjoyed cooking and seeing her customers smile. One day, a group of villagers gathered around her stand excitedly. Did you hear the king's wife and son are coming back soon? One villager said. Yes, they will return once the prince graduates and turns 25. Another added. Alo listened quietly, feeling heavy with memories of her time at the palace. She wondered if the king Ifeanyiva thought about her or her child, but she quickly pushed those thoughts away and focused on her work and her daughter. Nika, who overheard the conversation, looked at her mother with concern. Mama, are you all right? She asked gently. I'm fine, my dear, Alo replied, forcing a smile. We have each other, and that's all that matters. As the month passed, Alo and Neka continued their routine. Neka excelled in her studies, always striving to make her mother proud. Alo's business thrived, and she felt proud knowing she had built a good life for herself and her daughter. One evening, after a long day, Neka said, Mama, I want to thank you for everything you've done for me. You are the best mother anyone could ask for. Tears filled Alo's eyes as she hugged Neka tightly. Oh, Neka, you are my joy and my pride. I am so proud of the young woman you have become. They held each other close, feeling the strong bond between them. Alo knew that no matter what challenges they faced, they would always have each other. She was determined to give Neka the best life possible. As the end of the year approached, the palace buzzed with excitement about the return of the queen and prince. King Ifeanyiko eagerly awaited their arrival, making sure everything was ready. In the village, Alo and Neka quietly went about their lives, unaware of the big changes coming their way. They continued to work hard and support each other, finding strength in their love and determination. Weeks later, the queen and prince returned from abroad, and the whole kingdom of Ifeoma buzzed with excitement. The prince had grown into a fine young man, educated and wise, ready to take on his duties. The people of Ifeoma were proud of their prince and eager to see him back. One sunny afternoon, feeling curious about the village, Prince Okina decided to explore. He wandered down the village roads, enjoying the sights and sounds of everyday life. The marketplace was bustling with activity, children were playing, and the air was filled with the smell of freshly cooked food. As he walked, he noticed a small food kiosk by the roadside. The delicious aroma drew him closer. This was Alo's kiosk, where she sold her famous meals. Good afternoon, Okina greeted, smiling warmly. Good afternoon, Neka replied, looking up from her work. She was Alo's daughter, a beautiful young woman with a kind smile. What would you like to eat? She asked. I'll have a plate of jollof rice and chicken, please, Okina said, sitting down at one of the small tables. Neka served the food with a friendly smile. Here you go. I hope you enjoy it. As Okina ate, he couldn't help but notice how hard Neka worked and how cheerful she was. He felt happy to be in the village, where the food smelled so good and the people were so friendly. Kelechi and Nneka were having a nice chat like old friends. Kelechi introduced himself, and Nneka said, "It's nice to meet you." Kelechi asked her how long she had been helping her mother. Nneka replied, "I've been helping her for as long as I can remember. She works very hard and I want to help her too." Kelechi thought that was really nice and said, "Your mother must be very proud of you." Nneka smiled and said, "She is, and I'm proud of her too. She has done so much for me." They spent the afternoon talking and laughing. Kelechi found Nneka's company delightful and refreshing. He learned about her dreams, and she listened carefully as he shared stories about his time away and his plans for the future. Before he left, he promised to come back soon. "I've enjoyed our conversation, Nneka, and I hope to see you again," he said. "Me too," Nneka replied, waving goodbye as he walked away. Days turned into weeks, and Kelechi and Nneka became great friends. They loved spending time together, walking around the village, visiting the market, and sharing stories about their lives. They talked about their dreams, and their bond grew stronger. One day, while sitting under a big tree near the river, Kelechi said, "You know, I feel really comfortable around you. It's like I've known you forever." Nneka smiled and replied, "I feel the same way, Kelechi. You are very easy to talk to." As they watched the river flow, Nneka shared her dream of becoming a teacher. "I want to help children learn and grow because education is very important," she said. "That's a wonderful dream, Nneka," Kelechi said. "I'm sure you will be a great teacher." "What about you? What are your dreams?" Nneka asked. Kelechi replied, "I want to make a difference in our community. I want to help our people and make Ifeoma a better place for everyone." Nneka smiled and said, "You will be a great leader." Their friendship continued to grow, and they became inseparable. They supported each other and shared their joys and sorrows. Kelechi appreciated Nneka's kindness and strength, while Nneka admired Kelechi's wisdom and compassion. As they spent more time together, one day Kelechi decided to do something special for Nneka. He wanted to show her how much she meant to him. He asked if she would like to go to a nice restaurant with him that evening, and Nneka eagerly agreed. When the evening came, Kelechi arrived at Nneka's house dressed neatly, holding a small bouquet of flowers. Nneka looked beautiful in a simple but elegant dress. She accepted the flowers with a smile and a blush. They walked to an expensive restaurant in the heart of Ifeoma, known for its delicious food and beautiful atmosphere. When they entered, Nneka was amazed by the elegant decor and soft music playing in the background. They were seated by a window with a stunning view of the village. As they looked at the menu, Nneka felt a bit overwhelmed by the choices, but Kelechi helped her decide, suggesting they start with some appetizers. They ordered a variety of dishes and enjoyed a delicious meal together, talking and laughing throughout the evening. Nneka expressed how much fun she was having, and Kelechi was happy to see her so joyful. After their meal, they moved to a cozy corner of the restaurant to talk more privately. Kelechi knew it was time to share his feelings with Nneka. He told her that he was falling in love with her, and that she had become very special to him. Nneka blushed and admitted she felt the same way, saying she had never met anyone like him. Their relationship grew deeper, and they became inseparable, sharing their dreams and supporting each other. Nneka felt a happiness she had never known before. Meanwhile, at the palace, the king and queen were making plans. They discussed their future and their son's responsibilities. King Ifeanyi said it was time for Kelechi to get married, as he was their heir to the throne and needed to think about his future. Queen Adais agreed and suggested they talk to him when he returned to the village. While Kelechi and Nneka enjoyed their time together, sharing their hopes and dreams, Kelechi said he wanted Nneka by his side to help the kingdom grow and prosper. One day, Kelechi decided to share a big part of his life with Nneka. He told her he wasn't just any young man from the village. He was Prince Kelechi, the heir to the throne of the Ifeoma kingdom. Nneka was surprised, but quickly reassured him that her feelings for him remained the same. She appreciated his honesty, and Kelechi felt relieved knowing she accepted him for who he was. Their bond deepened even more, and they prepared for the future with hope, knowing they could face any challenges together. As their relationship flourished, they looked forward to a bright future, filled with love and the promise of making a positive difference in their kingdom. Their journey was just beginning, and they were ready to take on whatever life had in store for them, hand in hand. When Kelechi learned about his parents' plan for him to get married, he decided it was time to introduce Nneka to them. He knew he wanted to spend his life with her and was ready to tell his family. "Nneka, I want you to meet my parents," Kelechi said one day. "I want them to know the woman I love." Nneka was nervous but agreed, saying, "Kelechi, I trust you." They arranged a dinner at the palace. Nneka dressed in her best clothes, feeling both excited and anxious. As they arrived at the palace, she felt a strange connection to the place. The grandeur of the palace, the beautiful gardens, and the majestic halls made her feel a little uneasy. The palace staff welcomed them warmly and led them to the dining room, where the table was elegantly set and delicious food filled the air. Kelechi's parents, King Ifeanyi and Queen Adaeze, were already seated and waiting for them. "Mother, father, this is Nneka," Kelechi introduced her with a smile. "Welcome, Nneka," Queen Adaeze said kindly. "We are pleased to meet you." "Thank you, Your Majesties," Nneka replied, bowing slightly. "It's an honor to be here." During dinner, the king and queen were impressed by Nneka's manners and grace. She spoke politely, and her words were thoughtful. The meal was filled with pleasant conversation, but Nneka couldn't shake the feeling that something was familiar. "Who are your parents?" Queen Adize asked kindly, as they enjoyed their food. "My mother is Chinwe," Nneka replied. "She used to work in the palace many years ago." King Ifeanyi's face turned pale. He put down his spoon and looked at Nneka with wide eyes. "Which Chinwe?" he asked, his voice trembling a bit. "The one who served in the palace," Nneka answered, feeling confused by the sudden tension. Everyone was surprised. King Ifeanyi was in shock, and memories of the past flooded his mind. He could barely control his emotions and quickly excused himself, leaving the room with his heart pounding. Queen Adaz followed him, sensing something was wrong. Inside the privacy of their room, King Ifeanyi knelt down, tears welling up in his eyes. "Adazi, I need to confess something," he began, his voice breaking. "Years ago, I wronged Chinwe. I forced her into a situation she didn't want, and I threatened her. I took advantage of her." Queen Adaz was stunned and sat down, her face pale with shock. "What are you saying?" she asked. "It's true," he continued. "I never knew she had a child. Our child." Queen Adazi looked at him with sorrow. "She's your half-sister," he added, referring to Nneka. Kelechi was heartbroken. He had fallen in love with Nneka, and now he learned she was his sister. He left the room feeling devastated, with a mix of anger, sadness, and confusion. When Nneka got home, she told her mother everything that had happened. "Mom, I didn't know Kelechi was the prince," she said, tears in her eyes. Chinwe's mind went straight to King Ifeanyi's son, and she quickly asked, "Which king?" "The king of Ifeoma," Neka replied, feeling broken. Her mother remembered everything she went through with the king. She had to tell her daughter about her past. "Neka, I am very sorry," Chinwe said, tears streaming down her face. "The king wronged me. He took advantage of me, and now you are caught in the middle." Neka felt sad for her mother and hugged her tightly. "It's not your fault," she said. "We will get through this together." Chinwe sighed deeply and began to tell her story. "Many years ago, when I worked at the palace, the king forced me into a situation I didn't want. He got me pregnant and denied it, even telling me to abort the child. I refused, and after my mother's death, I had to leave the palace. He threatened me and made me feel powerless. I had no choice but to leave when I found out I was pregnant with you. I never thought this past would come back to affect you. I am so sorry, my child." Adak listened, her heart breaking for her mother. "Mama, you are so strong. I am proud of you for raising me and doing everything you did just to protect me." Back at the palace, Queen Adaisy was shaken by the revelation of King Ifeanyi's past. She loved her husband, but the betrayal was hard to bear. After much thought, she decided that the only way she could forgive him was if he made things right with Obiageli. She told King Ifeanyi, "The only way I will forgive you is if you marry Obiageli and make things right." King Ifeanyi knew he had to correct his past mistakes. The weight of regret hung heavily on him, and he understood that taking responsibility for his actions was the only way forward. He agreed to his wife's condition, understanding the gravity of his past actions and the need to seek forgiveness. King Ifeanyi began making arrangements to visit Obiageli's family to beg for forgiveness. He knew this would not be easy, but it was necessary for healing and moving forward. He gathered his family and some respected elders from the community to accompany him. They all understood the importance of this visit and supported the king's decision to make amends. One Sunday afternoon, the king, his family, and the elders went to Obiageli's house. The atmosphere was tense as they approached her doorstep, feeling the weight of their mission. They knew this visit was not just about seeking forgiveness, but also about uniting their families and healing old wounds. King Ifeanyi took a deep breath and knocked on the door. Obiageli opened it, surprised to see the king, queen, and elders standing there. Her heart was heavy with memories of the past, but she remained calm. King Ifeanyi began, "I have come to ask for your forgiveness. I wronged you many years ago, and I am deeply sorry." Obiageli looked at the king, her emotions swelling. She remembered the pain and fear she had endured, but she also saw the sincerity in his eyes. She could tell he was genuinely remorseful. The queen stepped forward, her face filled with compassion and hope. "Obiageli, we are here to make things right. We want to unite our families and move forward. We understand that this will not be easy for you. I know it will not be easy to erase it all, but we hope it will bring some healing." The elders, who were wise and fair, spoke kindly. They acknowledged the pain Obiageli had gone through and expressed their support for her. They asked for her forgiveness and understanding, emphasizing the importance of unity and moving forward together. After a long discussion, Obiageli felt a sense of relief. She had carried the burden of her past for many years, and now she saw a path to healing. She forgave the king, knowing it was the best way to move on and create a brighter future for herself and her daughter. The process of forgiveness was not easy. It required patience, understanding, and a willingness to let go of the past. But Obiageli knew that holding on to the pain would only hinder her and her daughter's happiness. By forgiving the king, she was choosing to free herself from the shadows of the past. The visit ended on a hopeful note. Obiageli and the royal family had taken the first steps toward healing and unity. The elders offered their continued support, ensuring that both families could work together to build a brighter future. Back at the palace, the atmosphere was lighter. There was still much to be done, but the first and most crucial step had been taken. King Ifeanyi was grateful for the chance to make amends, and Queen Adaize felt a renewed sense of hope for her family. Obiageli felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She knew there would be challenges ahead, but with the support of her family and the royal family, she felt more hopeful about the future. She had forgiven the king, and in doing so, she had also found a way to begin healing herself. Both families began the journey of healing and unity, guided by forgiveness, understanding, and the hope of a better future. The kingdom of Ifeoma saw this act of forgiveness as a powerful example of the strength and compassion needed to overcome past wrongs and build a beautiful, bright future for everyone. King Ifeanyi visited Obiageli's house again with his king's men and some of Obiageli's uncles on that fateful day, intending to propose to Obiageli. The atmosphere was filled with anticipation and hope. The village elders and family members gathered around, witnessing a moment that would change their lives forever. King Ifeanyi knelt before Obiageli, a gesture that showed his sincere remorse and commitment to making things right. He assured her he wanted to marry her and make her his queen. Obiageli looked into his eyes and saw the genuine remorse and determination to correct his past mistakes. She had tears of joy in her eyes as she nodded, accepting his proposal. The news of their engagement spread quickly through the village, bringing hope and unity to the people of Ifeoma. They saw this union as a symbol of forgiveness, healing, and new beginnings. The villagers celebrated with joy, understanding that this marriage would bring about positive change for their community. Preparations for the grand wedding began immediately at the palace. The palace staff worked tirelessly to ensure everything was perfect for the big day. Decorations were hung, and flowers were arranged. The entire palace was transformed into a beautiful place of celebration. Queen Adaize played a significant role in the preparations. She was a kind and good queen who always stood by her husband and never tolerated unfair treatment of people. Her strength and compassion had been a source of comfort and guidance for many in the kingdom. Despite the pain and betrayal she felt from her husband's past actions, she chose to support him in his efforts to make amends. She understood the importance of forgiveness and unity. Obiageli was deeply grateful to Queen Adaize. Throughout this challenging time, Queen Adaize had shown Obiageli kindness and support. She never judged Obiageli and instead offered her a hand of friendship and understanding. Obiageli appreciated the queen's fairness and generosity, knowing that she played a crucial role in making the union possible. As the wedding day approached, the excitement in the village grew. People from all corners of Ifeoma gathered to witness the union of their king and Obiageli. The wedding was a grand affair filled with music, dance, and laughter. The village celebrated not just the marriage, but the new chapter in their history that this union symbolized. Prince Okima and Adak had no choice but to accept each other as siblings. They faced their emotions and supported each other, knowing that their bond was still strong. Although their relationship had changed, their love and respect for each other remained unwavering. They found comfort in knowing they could still be there for each other, even in this new role. The wedding ceremony was beautiful. King Ifeanyi and Obiageli stood together, surrounded by their families, friends, and the people of Ifeoma. They exchanged vows, promising to support and cherish each other. The vows were not just words, but a commitment to a future built on honesty, respect, and love. After the ceremony, the celebration continued with feasting and dancing. The entire village joined in rejoicing in the happiness of their king and new queen. It was a day of joy and unity, marking the beginning of a brighter future for everyone in Ifeoma. Obiageli felt overwhelmed with gratitude. She was thankful to King Ifeanyi for his sincere effort to make amends, to Queen Adaeze for her unwavering support and kindness, and to the people of Ifeoma for their acceptance and joy. She knew that this union was a step toward healing old wounds and building a stronger, more united community. As the night drew to a close, King Ifeanyi, Queen Adaeze, and Obiageli stood together, looking out over the celebrating village. They felt a deep sense of peace and hope for the future. They knew that despite the challenges they had faced, they were now on a path toward healing and unity. The kingdom of Ifeoma thrived under the leadership of King Ifeanyi, Queen Adaeze, and Queen Obiageli. Their story became a testament to the power of forgiveness, the strength of unity, and the importance of compassion. The people of Ifeoma looked to their leaders with pride and hope, knowing they were guided by love and wisdom. And so, the story of King Ifeanyi, Queen Adaeze, and Queen Obiageli, along with Prince Okima and Adak, continued, filled with love, happiness, and the promise of a brighter future. The lesson in this story reflects profound truths that resonate deeply with real-life experiences. Actions have consequences, and the choices we make, especially those driven by power and selfishness, can have lasting impacts not only on our lives, but also on the lives of others. King Ifeanyi's initial misuse of power and mistreatment of Obiageli created a ripple effect that brought pain and suffering to both families. It highlights the importance of accountability, compassion, and respect in all our interactions. In real life, individuals must be cautious and mindful of their actions, understanding that what goes around comes around. Treating others with kindness and fairness can build a foundation of trust and unity, while selfish and harmful actions can lead to regret and the need for difficult reparations. This story serves as a reminder that integrity and empathy are crucial in creating a just and supportive society, where forgiveness and healing are possible if we acknowledge our wrongs and strive to make things right. And with that, the journey of forgiveness and healing continued. Thanks for watching. If you liked the story, tell us what you learned by leaving a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss our next episode. Have a wonderful day.